Hey guys, my name's Zayas, and today I'm here to review Phantom Seer. Phantom Seer was a work published from 2020 to 2021 in Shonen Jump. It was written by Tougou Gotou and illustrated by Kento Matsuura. Both authors still don't have very much work out at this point, but I'm trying to keep an eye on Kento as he has shown some great artwork in all of his series. We all know that Shonen Jump is extremely competitive in terms of which series make it, but in the past 5 years, they've been even more extreme in cutting back on lesser popular series, as they're trying to find their next big Demon Slayer, Bleach, Naruto, hoping to replace one of these big series. Phantom Seer was one of these series that really just didn't make the cut, but it certainly tried to emulate a lot of the big series. It's an action, horror, supernatural shonen. And supernatural shonen mangas have been really popular as of late. I think it's probably due to Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen, but there's so many series which have tried to do big supernatural plots, such as Aishimon, Chainsaw Man, Jigoroku, Dan Dan Dan, Kemono Jihin. The series that Phantom Seer tries to emulate the most is Jujutsu Kaisen. Their premises are extremely similar. The characters will go around hunting these supernatural monsters which are haunting humans, and at the end of the day they'll report back to their agencies, and they do all this to find the big supernatural villain who's been orchestrating all this chaos. Also, the art style weirdly reminds me of Bakuman and Death Note, but in a good way. Something about the way the characters are drawn with their shape of their heads and hairstyles and stuff like that is just super similar to Bakuman. Phantom Seer certainly uses a bunch of influences from other series, but it doesn't really bring much that's unique to the table itself. The main character is this mini tsundere type of character where he'll say that he doesn't want to do something, but he actually does. And I don't mind this character. He's not the worst written character I've seen, but he's not super compelling. I would say he's like the mediocre, sort of no strong feelings on him type of character. Some characters do show promise also. In particular, his sister and the bald man, they looked interesting, but the characters really didn't get to go anywhere because the series ended so early. All the other characters, aside from the three I just mentioned, seem like they were just copy and pasted from the shonen cookbook. You have the standard female protagonist, you have the standard friend who's also a rival, you have the standard mentor who's actually weaker than the protagonist. Most of the faults of this series boiled down to the writing. The pacing felt way too fast, even in the beginning. Before the series got axed, it felt as if it was going a mile a minute. Most of the characters were super one-dimensional. It felt as if you could describe their entire personality in one word. Also, there was a ton of over-dramaticism, as is typical in shonen, but it felt a little egregious here. There were tons of plot holes that were just conveniently left unexplained, like some of the strongest characters in the series just sitting back because they don't want to help destroy this character who's been killing a bunch of people, and other stuff like who's paying these guys for exterminating demons. Maybe it was going to be explained later, but it never really was explained. This world for the series felt so manufactured and fake, it's kind of hard to care about these characters. Of course, series which get axed will have rushed and abrupt endings, but this ending was so rushed and so abrupt that it felt like everything was left on the table and nothing had been wrapped up at all. They could have made another chapter after the final one, and people wouldn't think that it had been concluded in the previous chapter. And while Gotou did a poor job in terms of the writing in this story, I feel as if Kento held up his end in terms of the illustrations. The series didn't deserve such great artwork for a writing that was this bad. The monsters in this series were drawn big and intimidating, and they had a lot of weight behind them. And I loved the shading on these. It made them look very dark and menacing. I like how the main characters and the side characters look. As I said before, it kind of appears as if they're out of Bakuman, and they appear super rounded, similar to Bakuman. His sister and the bald guy were the two characters with the most work done on their designs, and his sister was the character which came out the best. I love how her eyes are covered, and I love the dark atmosphere every time she shows up on screen. The villains spewed out some pretty boring lines about their personality, but again, they looked pretty good in terms of character design. The characters look super eerie, and there's definitely something haunting behind all these characters. The writing did lack, but it wasn't so horribly bad to the point where it made you want to drop the series, and the artwork was promising. Kento did a pretty good one-shot recently called My Pen Pal at the End of the World. Although I'm not a big Magical Girl fan, I still enjoyed it. It had minimal elements of that. But I think Kento has some promise in the industry. If he teams up with a good partner, he can definitely pump out some pretty good manga. But this series in particular just didn't get to where it needed to go. I'm feeling a strong 3 to a light 4 on this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment any series you want me to review, or comment what you thought about the manga. Thanks everyone.